Hello, everyone. Welcome to the hopefully, potentially, maybe the final weekend of the Hell Let Loose Summer Invitational. My name is Avinus. I'm the tournament host. You've been hearing me for weeks now talk about this 18v18 tournament we're running. And today we have arrived at the losers final. This is going to be between second placed ARO and third placed DC. Um, this is going to be a real fun matchup. I think both of these teams are in very good shape to advance today. I think they are both prepared. I think they are both capable of winning. And both of them were dropped into the losers bracket after losing to current first seeded 82nd Airborne, who awaits the winner of this match in the winners final. The plan is if DC wins, we will be playing the championship tonight in about 5 to 6 hours. If Aurora wins due to time zone issues, we will be pushing the championship game to Saturday of next week. So this could be the only stream today. This could be the first of two, maybe even the first of three if we get a reset potentially. So stay tuned. But really excited to be bringing you this match. We're getting started in just over a minute. We are on Roer River House. Aurora is the second seeded team. They got to make their selections, and they opted to go Roer River House allies on the attack. And this is it's an interesting selection. This is actually what they lost to against 82nd Airborne last week in the winners final. So clearly, Aurora feels that they are missing something on Roer River House, and they've opted to go here this week. I think that's a great pick for them. And DC having to take the selections is taking the selections, and they'll get to make their choices next round. We might have a couple people join us in the booth later, but for now you've just got me. And I'm just really, really excited. This has been almost a full month now of competition. We started on August 7th with the wild card round. And here we are almost a full month later, and we are now in the losers final. We're down to our top three teams. And the winner of today's game is going to go get the right to challenge 82nd for the championship title. So I think both teams are looking forward to this one. I know I am. Both of these teams have been very strong performances, or have had very strong performances in the tournament. They've won in their own ways, and they've had impressive results in their own ways, and now they have to play each other, and it's kind of like a rock meets a hard place when you get to the top three. You've got Aurora. They are in blue. They are going to be running in on your screen right now. On the right, they're playing as the allies, and you have DC in orange on your left, playing as the Axis. So one of the things to note about Roer River House, and it's something that we talk about all the time on this map, is just how vertically intensive this map is. It rises like to the height of a 30-story building on the south side. We're looking, southbound right now. I'm on the north side of the map, so there's just a lot to deal with vertically. We're seeing teams are kind of meeting each other with a bit of a mirror here. A couple guys on the top side. Actually, I think DC going a little bit harder on the top side than ARO. And we're seeing the fight come in now in and around the house. So DC winning a couple of those early gunfights, getting towards the house, so that's good for them. As a reminder, ARO is attacking, which means if they do not, get anywhere on this attack, that's okay, because at least they don't, lose their outposts. So that's one of the advantages of attacking in the game mode. So that's good for them. They don't need to worry. But so far, looks pretty good for ARO, although it looks like there was a whole group of DC players up here. I must have missed it. This is Inaba Tiwi, or Tewi. I saw a bunch of orange dots up on the top side of my screen, and were all gone after looking away for a second. So I'm assuming he got them or somebody got them. So Aurora going for a bit of a more like defense and depth strategy, kind of playing back a little bit on the top side of your screen. Whereas DC definitely being a bit more aggressive in and around the riverbank, using a lot of smoke. MG is in the house. He's suppressing whatever's going on up on that hill, or at least the approach to the building. So that looks good. So DC, I think, in a nice early start here. I say this every time we play on Roer River House here on Hill 400, is that this is one of the strong points that plays so differently from all the other ones, because it's really a game of, like, don't go in the circle on this map, whereas on all of the other strong points, you're really trying to get into the circle for capture weight. The kill box on this circle is pretty big, and because of the geography of the point, it's just really hard to get into the circle and survive. There is one very small portion of the house that is in the circle on the top floor in the corner, which can give you some capture progress. But outside of that, you kind of have to sit out in the open. There's not a lot of cover. Right now, we're seeing a really nice advance from DC on the south side, making some progress. This is Perico and his group. Baker on the Aurora side just reset their OP, but it looks like DC is actually sending a full squad around the outside. This is Ninja Pulver, a player we've been watching a lot in this tournament. Had a really nice losers round 6 last week. And right now, yeah, we're seeing DC is advancing a good number through the middle and around the outside. So they're going to try and pinch off DC, or Aurora, I should say. But Aurora actually just got really nice numbers along the riverbank. And with 5 guys, they've actually pushed back DC pretty nicely here. Really nice effort from them. So just need to keep an eye. I mean, you have kind of like counter punches here. You have Aurora working this riverbank, and you have DC working that southern flank with a few guys. So the line is kind of diagonal right now, not really a straight line. Really nice individual effort here. TZ making a beautiful individual effort, grabs 2 players. So ARO gets really, really close there to the DC OPs, or at least one of them. You got 2 guys from DC still sitting inside the house. Interesting. I really like what ARO is doing right now. They're kind of preventing DC from getting that control on the riverbank. And what we saw last week between 82nd and ARO is that 82nd had a lot of trouble with Roer River House when they allowed ARO, who played as the Axis last week, so that would be orange, to get this control like right below the riverbank, below where the house is. ARO really made it difficult for 82nd last week, so I think they're kind of taking the lesson of that and being like, hey, look, like DC cannot get control of this riverbank. If they do, we're kind of in trouble. But what I also like is DC now in orange holding a really nice high line on this top side. Not really boxing out Aurora, but it's preventing ARO from getting like that pinch down into the zone that we saw 82nd pull off so nicely last week, because ARO didn't send enough people to the top side or to the south side of the map. So so far, you know, as long as status quo remains, DC is happy. They've got the strong point. It's a long ways to hold it. Still a lot of match to play here. But I think we're going to see maybe one flip, maybe. This match does not seem to have a lot of map flips in the cards, just from the way it's being played thus far. But we'll see. Very, very static, kind of slow game on the riverbank side, which is different from what we saw last week. It was a lot more active, a little bit more back and forth. ARO is in some trouble though on this very northern flank here. They're really kind of getting pinched off, and you have an automatic rifleman. This is Perico. He is moving down. Oh, and he goes down as I turn away. I think the rifleman up there got him. So Perico is getting close. So we go for a top-down view here. You can see ARO in blue. They're really focusing the riverbank. They're a little bit down. They're harder to see. Whereas you have DC really trying to play the buildings, specifically the 2-story. ARO in good position on the riverbank if they can do something with it. But so far, they're kind of cut off here from getting to the house because they have 2 players from DC kind of looking in that direction. So ARO trying to maybe get something done here. We still have a really high line being held from DC, which is excellent in my opinion. We have not seen this yet on Roer River House, where it goes in the opposite direction. Um, so typically, you're used to seeing the allies push a high line on the axis, but DC has managed to reverse that here, and they're actually holding a high line against the allies, which is excellent. And it's exactly what they needed to do to counter picking ARO or having ARO pick this and bring it to the match. What else can we talk about? I mean, I think one of the themes of the tournament thus far has been the team that does more prep has typically won. I would say 90% of the time, the team that does more prep prior to the match has won. I think both of these teams have done prep. ARO has kind of been a notorious prepper throughout the tournament, and they've been doing a lot of work. But there's an X factor in these tournament matches in the 18v18, and that is teams that are able to react quickly to these selections. And like obviously DC had no idea that ARO was going to bring them here. Maybe they had a clue, a thought, but they didn't know, and so they kind of just have to walk into match one and be like, all right, well, wherever they bring us, we just gotta play. And so far, so good. I mean, DC is playing, and they're doing well. They've kind of come up with a strategy here, whereas I think ARO probably had a more rehearsed strategy. They still got the house. They've still got control of large sections of the map, so I feel like DC definitely in good position right now. But ARO still in a threatening location on the riverbank, still able to move into the house that they want to. They've got really nice numbers along that riverbank, so plenty of time here for ARO to do something. We're just 10 minutes deep into this match. It's felt like I've been here almost 20 minutes already, but still plenty of time, plenty of opportunity. But I do think ARO is going to need to move a little bit. They cannot sit indefinitely in their positions. I'll be curious to see if ARO tries to maybe move in some kind of number on the southern flank here on the tall hill, or if they're going to kind of keep the status quo, hope that their group is able to hold back DC, who's now moving in good numbers. You have Core, Perico, and Ninja Pulver all moving in on ARO positions here. Oh, and Ninja drops the ARO squad lead, so that's something to keep an eye on here. DC might be moving in. Maybe they think there's an outpost here, but they're actually set right behind Roer River House. So I think DC probably thinks they're after an outpost, but they're actually not super close to one right now. They're kind of split the difference between all three of them. And as I talk about that, ARO now moving in good numbers alongside this house. And the house is just, it's a kill box. I've talked about it in previous matches. Like, it's really hard to control access to it, as we see. Just as I say that, a player goes down. I feel like the lesson with Roer River House is play wide, because when you play condensed on this map, you're gonna have a hard time. All of the positions that are static on this strong point are just so good. Really on any forest map, but in particular Hill 400. There's so much micro terrain. There's so many trees you can hide behind. I think as this match goes on, and as we see ARO maybe trying to make a move now for the house, they really have to focus on getting out wide, because right now ARO in trouble here on this flank. Baker is getting real close. I should say DC is getting real close to the Baker outpost. So ARO really starting to get closed off on the south side. And that could be a lot of trouble, obviously. I mean, you don't want to get boxed out. Ninja Pulver and Hummer are kind of in a duel right here. I don't know if they see each other, if Ninja's looking at somebody else. So that's something to keep an eye on. So that's the squad lead for DC. He's looking. But I do think, you know, ARO in a little bit of trouble. Like, oh, and an outpost just went down for the ARO side. I didn't see how that happened. But an outpost just went down for the RO side, able outpost. So now they've got to reset. Charlie's still in the zone, still able to do something. But DC really actually starting to close this off. So I think, still plenty of time, obviously. We still got 17 minutes or so on the clock. So RO definitely not in any major trouble yet. But they're going to need to reevaluate the plan. I think a really good strategy for RO right now would be to go south side. I think the south side is probably going to be a really viable option for them the longer this match goes on. Up until a certain point, I think once you hit the 5-minute mark, it's probably too late to go south side. But in the next 5 minutes, I think RO needs to try and overwhelm these two defenders on the DC side, on the south side, and really try and reestablish control of the flank. It's really just two players. Ninja Pulver is in kind of position to see up the hill from where he is, but not in great position. So, RO needs to try and think about doing a hard reset on one side if they, do not succeed in getting position where they currently are. As I said that, all three OPs still in decent position for RO, but they really are losing the positioning battle, and they're not able to get into the positions they want. So you just got to credit the DC team here. This was the RO selection to come to Roer River House, and DC so far bringing it to the RO team. And that's kind of been a theme, actually, in this tournament. Interesting. A lot of matches where teams make their first selections, they actually have ended up losing. And I don't think that's like a poo-poo on the format. I think it's just an interesting quirk that's happened in this tournament. A lot of lower-seeded teams have won match ones in this tournament. So it's just an interesting little tidbit. RO now starting to get in okay shape along the riverbank. You got a squad lead for RO. This is GWR14. So he's starting to move on the riverbank. You've got just one player from DC around the house, as I say that, to spawn in. RO actually now starting to reverse a little bit of this forward progress that DC had, and I love what RO's trying to do. They're sending some good numbers, 6-7 players in the middle here. That's a lot. That's actually exactly what RO needs to do. They need to try and move in good number. There is an MG from DC all the way in the back here, probably trying to keep an eye on anyone that breaks through. But RO trying to at least, mix it up a little bit, go for a little bit of a different look. They've been really focusing the riverbank. They're going to try the center, so good on them. I think that's a good adjustment. As I say that, Baker and Able Outpost and Charlie Outpost, really all three starting to get closed in here. So that MG, I think that's core still for the DC team. That's core. He's starting to close in. And he drops another player from RO. So core doing a really nice job. Still have a player, a couple of players moving. Ooh, and a really nice individual effort from Justman, who's a player I've mentioned a lot in this tournament on the DC side. He's right behind RO Jackfish, and he actually knocked down GWR's outpost, but GWR is able to find him. They don't drop GWR, so he's going to be able to reset. So that's really, really good from RO there. They're able to reset that outpost, and they're going to be able to try again. As I say that, a squad lead for the RO team, this is TZ, has gotten past Faker. Really nice play there. I don't know if that was on camera or not when we were looking down here. But Faker goes down, and now you have Able squad lead all the way in the backfield for the RO team. Oh, but he goes down, and he doesn't set his outpost. That would have been a huge opportunity. If RO had been able to get an outpost up somewhere in the middle there, that really would have changed the complexion of this match. So that's a bit of a missed opportunity there for the RO side. I think there was, I should say, a huge opening for RO that could have really opened up the map. In the tournament thus far, DC has allowed people to get through their line and then spawn in and kind of cause havoc. And it looked like RO was going to pull that off again. And really nice save there from the DC team. Holds on. So, when does... A couple of questions as we hit just about the 13-minute mark, 12-minute mark down. At what point does DC pull these 4 players on the south side in. Conversely, what time does ARO try to break through those 4 players and try to loop down and make something happen south side? We're seeing players drop on both sides. I'd be curious to take a look at the score. DC definitely thus far has the advantage with score, so props to them, although there's a couple of squads for ARO that are doing just fine. So thus far, kill and score advantage goes to DC. That makes perfect sense. They are winning, so that is good to see from a statistical point of view. Where does ARO go? I mean, they're having a hard time with the riverbank. They're having a hard time with the hill. They're going to need to try something else. Now, as I say that, you are seeing ARO now abandoning their tall positions on the south side. I mean, that is a critical moment for ARO if they want to move in on that south, flank position. DC is holding a wide but somewhat thin line, and it's really interesting seeing those 4 players from DC are now starting to move down. ARO, as I say that, does get a breakthrough. They get some smoke, and I think this is the first time ARO has actually entered the house in this match, so that's really good. There's a really high-risk outpost, and it goes down due to a grenade, so now DC is going to need to reset. That is Sirius's outpost. That was a very, very high-risk outpost right next to the building. It goes down. He's going to need to reset it. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But ARO makes a nice play, and they actually are able to maybe start flipping this in the other direction with 2 players now inside of the house. They've got a squad lead kind of up in the bowl, but not super high. He's got a rifleman right above him. Sirius, I believe, reset his outpost. Yes, he did. So a little bit further back, maybe 20, 15 meters back from where it was. That could have been really dangerous for DC had Sirius gone down. So nice work there. But thus far, ARO in a little bit better position. I wouldn't call it outstanding, but it's better. They've opened up the middle a little bit, and you do have, I'm going to go focus in on this player. You have an anti-tank player. That's ARO Jack, not to be confused with ARO Jack Fish. That is ARO Jack on the very south side. He is moving in. So this now starting to turn, going in the other direction. ARO now in really strong position to start a significant amount of capture progress and to really put DC on the back foot. There's just a massive opening in the line here. And I think DC in some trouble all of a sudden. I don't know. I'm not looking on the DC side. I don't know if they've lost some outposts. But it's possible that DC might have lost an outpost or 2. And with 9 minutes to go, DC now in a bit of trouble. ARO recapturing. They've got halfway. And they've got some good positions along the bowl. Now, as I say that, DC has got a nice position on the southern flank from which to move and maybe try to pinch off this attack. But they're pretty far from the zone, and all 3 outposts for the RO team are up and not threatened. So I think DC kind of got maybe, I don't know. I'm not really sure. It could be just a straight series of gunfight wins for the RO team. But I do think DC lost some of their positioning. They started to go north-south a little too much maybe. And now we have RO in very strong position, and they are definitely in shape to recap here. And really, really smart LRTT squad leader for RO. He is inside of the circle, laying down on the wall woodpile there. And with 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go, RO is going to capture the zone. So RO now has found a way to reverse their fortunes. They were kind of in a tough spot. Really, the first 20 minutes of the match, not able to get much of anywhere. They finally get a breakthrough. They're able to get to the house, and they get to the house, and they start making life very difficult for this DC team. So that is just really nice work there from RO. And you just love to see it in the format. I mean, anytime a team is in a disadvantaged position and they battle back and they recapture the zone, that is a testament to the format. It's a testament to the ability of both teams. And it's just, as the tournament organizer and as one of the creators of the format, it is just I love seeing flips deep into matches. So really, really nice job there from ARO, who have now swept in good position. And it looks like DC lost a good number of their outposts. So now, even though I would say DC has been the stronger team up to this point in this match, they are now in a very tough position. It looks like all squad leaders except one are having to reset, so two have to reset outposts. And they're going to have to come up with a new plan, because now look at ARO's defensive positioning. This is just excellent position. They're going to be able to cut off most attacks. This is what they rehearsed. This is what they practiced. So DC now is going to be kind of running in headlong into a wall. And this is going to be really, really tough. DC is definitely a team that has proved to be capable of winning matches like these. But it's a little tricky right now. We will see where it goes. And I do think I want to point out, it is interesting that this is a matchup between two teams that both lost to 82nd. DC got 82nd in the round of 16 and did bring them to a match 3, so gave 82nd. They were sweating a little bit. That's what Jem told me. Hot tea. Jem was sweating a little bit in the DC match. But DC ultimately couldn't win. 82nd came up in the third match and got it done. And they progressed, and then they met ARO in the winners final, and they looked pretty strong. I think the first match was very convincing, and the second match a little less so. But they were good all through and through. So 82nd gets to meet the winner of this game, and I think they don't really care who they play. Talking to Jem, I think Jem feels good about no matter who they play. But just as a note, the only team that has taken a match off of 82nd in this whole tournament is DC. So that is just a little statistical note for you. As I say that, a minute ago before I started talking, DC was really in a bit of a tough spot. They didn't really have any control of the zone. They had ARO set up in great position. And now in the last 60 seconds, DC has fought back in really nice locations. And they are now starting to capture back, which is really nice. 5 minutes to go on the clock here. But DC now really putting themselves in position to get back in. And that's really good from them. So again, one of the themes from ARO in this tournament is they've been a little relaxed in setting up box outs. Like, they're really, really good at getting control of the zone, but they don't try to establish a super high line. They are more comfortable with playing a bit of a defensive line in and around the strong point, which I think is an inherently risky thing in this mode. And I think it came back to bite them there a little bit. They definitely had an opportunity as a team to push up higher and to prevent DC from getting into the zone. But now they've allowed DC back in. And I do want to note that I'm pretty sure this rifleman for DC has been here the whole time. That is El here. He has been sitting on that south side, I think, pretty much since ARO captured the zone. So ARO hasn't been able to get anyone on that southern flank, which has certainly been a little troublesome and problematic for them. And with 4 minutes on the clock, DC in position to certainly contest the zone. They're going to need to start going soon. You want to at least force overtime if you're DC. You want to at least try and get this match, into what I would call the best opportunity to win. Overtime is such a dynamic part of this format. It is a great way to highlight the balance you'll find, but also the in-game mechanics are just very rewarding when it comes to overtime, with the way capture progress works in Hell Let Loose. And it just makes every single gunfight and every single battle just super valuable and super important. And I think DC would like to close this out in regulation if they can. And as I say that, we have an automatic rifleman. This is Perico again. He's been on this flank doing a really nice job. Perico is on the hunt here. He has flashed Baker outpost on the RO side. He is moving down. And he gets Baker OP. Now, can he find Baker's squad lead? who I think is in not a good position. I'm pretty sure this is Baker's squad lead. That's LRTT laying down. He is not in a good location to reset that outpost, and he's got to put it. He doesn't have a choice. Okay, so now ARO has to be very careful. That is a very exploitable outpost for the DC side. Baker's squad lead had no choice but to place it inside of the circle on the southern side. So it is in a wide open position. It is a kill box for them. And they have to be so careful with this. Now, the advantage for ARO is that is placed within the circle. So every time ARO, as long as they keep it up, every time they spawn somebody in on that circle, they're going to, at least hold or reverse capture progress inside of the zone. Now you've got 3 players for ARO sitting inside of the hill. That is just like really interesting. As we see a vote kick come in. I don't know why a vote kick came in. That's funny. Oh boy. LRTT keeps his outpost up by the skin of his teeth. Johnny Doint came within 2 feet of knocking that outpost out for LRTT. So he is in a lot of trouble now. And now these other 2 squads for ARO need to try and come bail out Baker squad for ARO, because if Baker squad is forced to reset, they are really screwed as a team. As I say that, LRTT goes down and he is not able to protect it. And I think Ninja Pulver, sensing that there's an outpost here, he is moving down. If this goes down, right? If DC is able to knock out this ARO outpost on the circle, that is going to be a real big problem for the ARO team. As we say that, we're seeing quite the knife fight. And as they all spawn in, Ninja Pulver he sees him, but he goes down. Major is able to find him, but he goes down. Now, Justman is really close to them. Can he get to that outpost? It is still up. That is a bit of a tactical mistake there from DC. They definitely saw the outpost, but they're not moving to eliminate it, and they're able to spawn back in, but they all go down again. MG and Rifleman up on the hill. So now DC really starting to put the pressure in on this RO team. Under 20 seconds to go here, and I think DC is going to maybe flip, or at minimum, they're going to get capture progress. At minimum, they're going to drop Baker Outpost, and they do. And ARO gets pinched off here. ARO in a lot of trouble. Final 20 seconds. We are very likely headed to overtime, but ARO is holding on. They are actually sending capture progress back in the other direction, and DC has got to get capture progress if they want to win this match. And right now, ARO is maybe going to hold on here because DC doesn't have the concentration to send capture progress in the other direction. And even though ARO takes out Baker Outpost, the capture oh my gosh. Really impressive. Sorry, I was calling that in the wrong direction. I apologize. I was looking at it the wrong way. Really impressive. DC finds a way. Sorry, I realized at the end that I was calling it as DC was not finding a way to win. It was the other way around. I apologize. DC does find a way to win at the very end there. That was really impressive from DC. Sorry, the capture progress and Hell Let Loose, as I talk about it, can be a little confusing in which direction it's going. But that was just an excellent win from DC at the end. They find a way to knock out Baker Outpost. You just got to credit them. Like they forced ARO into a bad position. The squad lead was holding a very aggressive line on the log pile. His outpost goes down behind him. He has no way of repositioning. He's got to place it where he is, and that ends up being the difference maker. The outpost goes down, DC takes advantage, and they're able to hold on. So really nice work there from DC. And now we're headed to match 2. One of the biggest things to look for now is DC found a way to win in overtime there. Really tight match. And so now we're headed into a match 2 selection for DC. They're going to St. Mary Glees, and if I had to guess, they're probably going artillery battery. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But I apologize for the confusion at the end there. I was on the blue side, and it looked like the blue side was capturing, or at least reversing progress because of the way the bar was moving, which can be so confusing sometimes. So it looked like for a second ARO was holding on there, when in reality capture progress was going back in the other direction. So apologies for the miscall there, but great win from DC. And that was just a super, super impressive win. And, testament to how chaotic the format could be. I've been watching the match for 30 minutes, and at the end, I'm like, who the heck's winning? So really, really nice work. We're going to cut away for 15-ish minutes. And then we're going to come back and bring you match 2 action between ARO and DC. We'll be back in just a little bit.